Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And today we have a lot of things to talk about from all the big three. I mean, we have Xbox news, we have PlayStation news, and we got some big Nintendo news as well. You know, we have to talk about PlayStation, of course, because their messaging, to say the very least, they have been elusive since the reveal of the PS5. Do you remember the whole talk about we believe in generations? Jim Ryan, the PlayStation boss, had talked about that last year as Xbox took a lot of heat for their cross-generation approach. Well, yeah, that might have not been all that true after all, and yeah, it looks like a couple more PlayStation 5 exclusives, or, you know, previous exclusives, are now also going to the PS4 as well. So we're going to talk about that today as well, some of the games that they are releasing this year, or possibly 2022. And then we have some Xbox games that have been rated, including a PS5 exclusive. So we're going to talk about that as well. And then we also have the Nintendo Switch because, you know, they just revealed their plans for their E3, as well as those Switch Pro rumors just continue to ramp up online. So yeah, we got a lot to go over today. So let's just jump right into the news. And first up, let's talk about Ghostrunner, which is a game that released late last year. It was received pretty well from both critics and fans alike. It ended up selling 600,000 copies worldwide, which is impressive for a AA game like this, and it reviewed pretty good as well. You know, it got an 81 overall score for the PC, so, you know, fans really seem to like this game a lot, and yeah, you guys are definitely going to be happy because they just announced an Xbox Series and PS5 native version that will be releasing in September this year. In fact, it'll be September 28th. And this will bring over a number of improvements, including post-processing HDR, 3D audio, 4K resolution with 120 frames per second gameplay, which is just absolutely awesome. And then you also have a ray tracing fidelity mode. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that this 120 frames per second game mode and the ray tracing are separate. I mean, I highly doubt that they're together, but this is actually really cool for fans of the Ghostrunner franchise. Now, if you already own Ghostrunner, this will be a free upgrade. So that's pretty cool, and for you Ghostrunner fans, you all have a lot to be excited about over the next couple years. Not only will you get this upgrade on September 28th, completely free if you already own it, but remember, it was just a few weeks ago, they also announced a Ghostrunners 2, so you also have that sequel to look forward to as well. Now, for those who haven't played Ghostrunner already, this is a pretty good game. It plays very similar to something like, let's say, Mirror's Edge. It has that parkour running type of style to it, but with more of a melee focus to it. It's just a nice combination, a very unique game, and definitely a game that you might want to consider trying out. Moving on, let's talk about a PlayStation game that was revealed a few years ago, being Babylon's Fall, developed by Platinum Games. Babylon's Fall was first revealed back in 2018 for the PlayStation 4 and PC, and since then we've heard little about this game. But luckily, it does seem like something might be happening with Babylon's Fall that, you know, signifies a soonish reveal once again. So what's happening is that a closed beta test for Babylon's Fall did pop up on the Steam database. This listing just went up recently on June 1st, and, you know, with E3 right around the corner, I mean, it does seem like, you know, maybe they might reveal something there at this E3, and then, you know, that beta might go up shortly after. And I really hope that's the case because we've been waiting a long time to see Babylon's Fall, and I know there's excitement around this game from fans that, you know, like Platinum Games. Now, I am a big fan of Platinum Games because, you know, I believe they made one of the best games that released last generation, Nier Automata. I mean, that game is an absolute masterpiece. The characters are great, the music is some of the best I've heard in any video game ever, and I really do mean that. The gameplay is great as well, and so is the story. I mean, just from top to bottom, I think Nier Automata is a masterpiece. And with that, you know, I'm going to look into what they're releasing next, which, you know, Babylon's Fall is in their pipeline. But regardless, you know, this is a studio that I pay close attention to, and they have a lot of different games in development. You know, we know about games like Project GG, Soul Cresta, Bayonetta 3, and then, of course, Babylon's Fall. But that is something about Platinum Games. I mean, they have been announcing a lot of games, but with all those games in development, it does seem like they might be taking on too much at one time. You know, we've been waiting for a Bayonetta 3 reveal for such a long time. Hopefully that will be at E3. And then Babylon's Fall was another one of those games that was revealed years and years ago. But yeah, hopefully we'll see it here at this E3 or whenever PlayStation is set to do their E3 event or, you know, their E3 replacement type of event, since they won't technically be at E3. But yeah, crossing my fingers to see Babylon's Fall re-reveal here soon. Next up, let's talk about Xbox, as several Xbox-related games was rated. Now, ratings don't always mean that there will be an imminent announcement, but oftentimes when you see a game get rated, you know, a release date will oftentimes follow afterwards, which is why we're going to talk about these today. So first up, we have both Psychonauts and Age of Empires 4, which was rated in Germany. Now, I don't think either of these games being rated all of a sudden is all that surprising. I've talked about Psychonauts 2 quite a bit in the past because I do believe this game will get a big reveal at E3 with a release date. There's plenty of signs pointing to an imminent announcement with Psychonauts 2. I mean, just a few months ago, it was revealed that Double Fine was working on the credits for Psychonauts 2, which means they're likely finishing up with that game. And then all of a sudden, Psychonauts 2 popped up on the Xbox store page, and then just to kind of top things off, Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, has his avatar as Raz from Psychonauts 2. So yeah, I do think that we will get a release date for Psychonauts 2 at this E3. And if I were to guess, I'm going to say it's going to be a late June release. Now, you know, I don't know if that's a guarantee or anything, but that would be my own personal guess. As for Age of Empires 4, this is a game that's been in development for quite a long time, and I do think that we will hear about this game at E3 as well. So with both of these ratings popping up and, you know, E3 being right around the corner, is that a coincidence? You know, if I were to guess, I'm going to say probably not. I would expect both these games to be at E3 this year. Now, as for this third game, and this one is really interesting because this is a PlayStation exclusive that got rated for the Xbox One. And that game would be Oddworld Soulstorm, which released for the PlayStation back in April. So to see this game being rated for Xbox is certainly interesting, to say the least. Now, I think a lot of people already just kind of assumed that Soulstorm would be a PlayStation-timed exclusive, but, you know, seeing a rating like this just seems to further back up that idea. I mean, if you really look at it, just last generation, Oddworld New and Tasty also launched as a PS4 timed exclusive, and it just seemed like that they were doing something similar here with Oddworld Soulstorm. But yeah, Oddworld is a beloved franchise, and Soulstorm was a pretty solid release. Now, this game did release directly into PlayStation Plus a few months ago. I played it myself, and it was pretty good. It's very much a retro-style platformer, and very difficult at that. But, you know, if you like the Oddworld franchise, I think you're definitely going to like Oddworld Soulstorm. Now, do keep in mind, this is still just a rating, and there's no confirmation that this game will in fact come to Xbox. But at the same time, with this newfound rating, you know, I do think that there is a possibility that Oddworld Soulstorm does end up releasing for the Xbox down the road. Either way, it does look like there might be some incoming Xbox news for Age of Empires 4, Psychonauts 2, and Oddworld Soulstorm, and, you know, that's a lot of good games to look forward to. We need to talk about PlayStation and the PS5 though, because they just dropped a lot of news today that will be viewed as a little controversial, though probably the smart decision, and I'll get into all of that here in just a moment. So last year, one of the most controversial topics leading up to these next-generation consoles was cross-generation games. Xbox right away came out and said they're going to support cross-generation games. They're going to release games for the Xbox One as well as the Xbox Series. And Xbox took a lot of heat for saying this. You know, a lot of fans wanted them to get rid of the Xbox One, and, you know, a lot of this is console war driven, of course. Not going to get into all of that today, but PlayStation did end up responding, and the PlayStation boss, Jim Ryan, came out and said, "We believe in generations," and this was kind of alluding to the PS5 being their primary device going forward. They were no longer going to support the the PS4. Now, that ended up being not exactly true, and it was very evident after the fact. You know, several games that they announced for the PS5 was also available for the PS4. This includes Spider-Man Miles Morales, it includes Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and the upcoming Horizon Forbidden West. So that was already 3 cross-generation games that are not only released in 2020, but also 2021. And it doesn't look like it's going to quite end there, because they also confirmed that God of War Ragnarok and Gran Turismo 7 will also be releasing for the PlayStation 4. This was confirmed by Herman Holst in a PlayStation blog post today. And interestingly enough, those are 2022 titles. Yes, God of War Ragnarok was confirmed for a 2022 release today. It did end up getting delayed, which is, that's personally, I think that's okay. We are in unprecedented times with COVID-related issues, so, you know, a lot of these games are expected to be delayed, and God of War Ragnarok, unfortunately, will release in 2022 instead of 2021. But to see them release these for the PS4 is very interesting, because that whole Jim Ryan statement, "We believe in generations," it was very evident that wasn't true back then, and it's becoming even more evident as they are still continuing to release PlayStation 4 games in 2022. Now, with that said, I do think this is the smart decision. I personally don't have a problem with this at all from a fan's perspective, because the PlayStation 4 has sold, 114 plus million consoles worldwide, and fans are still having major issues even buying a PS5, so I think it is absolutely the smart decision to release these games for the PS4 as well. You're not going to want to leave these 100 million plus users behind as you're trying to transition to the PS5. So I personally think it's very smart. But at the same time, PlayStation's messaging has got to improve over this generation. I like the PlayStation brand. I like the PS5. I've said it several times on this channel. But Jim Ryan has a tendency of being a little elusive in order to get his fans to buy into their products. I want to see that improve. But, you know, it is what it is. Now, as for these release dates, yes, God of War Ragnarok is a 2022 release, but interestingly enough, they also mentioned Horizon Forbidden West, and there's been that ongoing discussion, will Horizon Forbidden West release in 2021 or will it release in 2022? We still have not gotten an official confirmation on the release date for that game, and today they did confirm the reason as to why, and that's because they think it's on track for a 2021 holiday release, but they're not 100% certain if that will be the case. So there is no guarantee that this game will release in 2021. There is still some doubt, but they do in fact hope for a 2021 release. We'll follow that and see how that works out. Hopefully it does release in 2021, but you know, if they do delay it to 2022, it'll more than likely be early in the year, and I think that's perfectly fine as well. I want a finished game day one and not a buggy mess. We saw last year with Cyberpunk 2077 the type of problems that a rushed release causes. So, you know, just be patient, everybody, and we'll see what happens from here on out. But regardless, please, PlayStation, you gotta improve on your messaging. At least do that much. On to that big Nintendo news, though, as they finally revealed the official date for their E3 plans, and that will be on June 15th. Yeah, so there it is, and it's time to get excited for that Nintendo E3. Now, this Nintendo Direct will be roughly 40 minutes long, and it will focus exclusively on Nintendo Switch software, mostly releasing in 2021, followed by around 3 hours of gameplay in the Nintendo Treehouse Live event. Yeah, they will have 3 hours of gameplay after that Nintendo Direct, which is definitely exciting. Now, what should we expect with this Nintendo Direct, though? And I think based off the rumors, we can kind of guess as to what will be there. I think that there's a good chance that a new Metroid game does appear here. We've heard a lot of rumors about a new 2D Metroid being in development by Mercury Steam. That one would definitely be exciting, as Mercury Steam did a phenomenal job with Samus Returns on the 3DS. Yeah, that game was largely ignored because it was a 3DS exclusive, but I think it's going to be really eye-opening when they do a Switch title. I think people are really going to like that. But then we're also hearing a lot about a new Donkey Kong game that could possibly show up here, and I think that there's a very good chance of that. And then lastly, we need an update for Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. I think this would be the place to get that update. Now, I don't know if it will release in 2021. I'm still hearing that this is possibly a 2022 title, but maybe they could at least show some gameplay or some kind of update for Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 at this event. And for that matter, we need an update for Pokemon Legends Arceus. The first trailer that they showed of Pokemon Legends Arceus was a little rough around the edges with some frame rate issues, though I still believe that trailer was probably an old version. But yeah, if we get all of that here at this E3, that alone I think makes for a great, exciting Nintendo Direct for E3. Now, I'm sure that they might have some other surprises as well. Maybe we finally see Bayonetta 3 along with some other new games that they have in development. But, I think this is going to be a great E3 for Nintendo. And actually, about that, we still need to talk about the Nintendo Switch Pro. Yeah, the Switch Pro just continues to leak out online, and I know we're all expecting an imminent announcement, as that's what we heard last week, and they're going to apparently announce this before E3, but we haven't really heard anything just yet. Well, that might change in the next couple days. Now, Leaky Panda is saying that this will be announced on June 3rd, which, that's tomorrow, so we might see it then. But then we also have Central Leaks, which says that they have received a verified screenshot from a big retailer's internal system that shows a new Switch hardware-related listing that will go live on June 4th around midnight. Now, these are just unconfirmed sources, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But the reason I'm talking about all this is because if those pre-orders really do go live, and this is something I've mentioned a few different times, you need to pay attention to how the Switch Pro is announced. Because if those pre-orders do go live shortly after or as they announce it, then you're going to want to pre-order this as quick as possible if you are indeed interested. If you're even slightly interested, I recommend pre-ordering this. And then if you don't want it, you can just simply cancel it later. And the reason I say that is because we've seen with the Xbox Series and the PS5, these consoles has a very high probability of selling out. And then after that, you might not have a chance to get it during the holiday as it will consistently be sold out. So just keep that in mind as they announce this Switch Pro. Pay attention to how they announce their pre-orders. Now, Central Leaks says that will go live on June 4th at 12 a.m., which I believe is 1 a.m. Eastern time. So definitely pay attention to that time slot if you're interested in the Switch Pro. Let's talk about the poll of the day, though, as I asked you all, do you think Horizon Forbidden West will release in 2021? Now, it's kind of ironic. They kind of talked about that today, but 61% of you said no, you do not think it will release in 2021. And based off what PlayStation said today, they aren't quite certain if they will release it in 2021. Now, they did say that they think it's on track to release this holiday. So if I were to guess, I would personally say I do think it will make it for that 2021 release. Yeah, there's no guarantee, but I'm going to just kind of remain optimistic that Horizon Forbidden West will release this holiday. But it doesn't seem like you guys are too optimistic on this one, and okay, I can understand that because, there's been so many games that's been delayed over the last year, so it wouldn't be all that surprising if Horizon Forbidden West also was delayed. I guess we'll just kind of see what happens with this, but I'm just going to kind of remain optimistic with Horizon Forbidden West. Nonetheless, we did see the gameplay trailer last week, and I think it looks excellent. So there is that, and I think that's the most important thing here. As long as this game does release and it's as good as it looks, yeah, I think I will be willing to wait for however long they want me to. Anyways, though, that's it for this video. But if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you would like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.